Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 409 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff today, or at least that's the plan. That is the plan. Let me start by sharing my screen, and we can get into it. I want to apologize if people were kind of waiting for the stream to start. It was showing the all done state in the as the sort of title card while the stream was kind of in queue. So hopefully no one was like, "Oh no, I missed it." I'm here, and I just had the wrong title card up. So let's start by sharing my screen. Why wait? Let's get into it. It is July 9th, 2025, episode 409. A reminder, no plant survives breakfast. Also, shout out, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday. Just a shout out to anyone whose birthday is on July 9th. Yeah, no plant survives breakfast. I think I know how things are going to go today, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm fully wrong. Things might go sideways. We may get sidelined, sidetracked, distracted, pulled into something else. That's okay. This series is all about kind of watching me do software development in the raw as I do it without having a whole lot prepared. So that's kind of the idea. Let's just jump right in. I want to just go for it because I'm already 5 minutes over time. So let's start. Well, as per last time, today's episode is brought to you by Keanu Codes, episode 409, and HTTP code 409. And in this, I believe it is, what is this? A 409 conflict, which in this case is represented by John Wick blasting some figure here with some kind of handheld weapon. That does not look great. That does not look like a fun place to be in, but it certainly does illustrate conflict. And 409 conflict. What is 409 conflict? HTTP 409 conflict is a status code that there is a request conflict with the current state of the target resource. So if using WebDAV, 409 conflict responses are errors sent to the client so that a user might be able to resolve a conflict and resubmit the request. For example, conflicts occur if a request to create something is made, and maybe if you have this ancestry ABCD, but ABC does not exist, the request must fail with a 409. Additionally, you may get a 409 response when uploading a file that is older than the existing one on the server, resulting in a version control conflict. Interesting. 409 responses may be used for implementation-specific purposes, such as to indicate that the server has received multiple requests to update the same resource. Fascinating. So yeah, I mean, REST and HTTP, you have these ideas of post and put and delete and not just get. Sometimes you're changing resources in the wild, and you may post to some endpoint or attempt to update an endpoint with put, and maybe someone else is doing it at the same time or did it just before you did, and so what you're trying to change is was slightly out of date than what's actually on the server. In that case, maybe the server will return 409 conflict. Well, that is fascinating. I did not know that. And now, if you didn't know it, now you do. That's what 409 is. Conflict. All right. Well, what are we working on today? Well, I was thinking we could take some of the patches that we worked on last week out of work in progress and try and get them posted for review. We had one that was attempting to save memory on really large background images, especially large animated GIF background images. And I posted a work in progress patch, and then I just kind of left it. Let's see if we can clean that up and get that posted for real. So where am I in my repository? Okay, JJ git fetch. Oh, fun fact, if you're using Jujitsu like I am, and you use MozFab to submit patches, make sure you're up to date with MozFab, what is it? MozFab 2.0.0, because that has first-class Jujitsu support. So I no longer have to switch to Git branches whenever I want to submit a patch. It's great. Jujitsu. I get to not think about Git hopefully ever again. So this is good news. MozFab 2.0 and Jujitsu working together like they should. So I just pulled down the most recent version of main. So let's move to main and let's bring in our patch. What was the, it was bug 19, 1974818. Do I have that in my log somewhere? Yes, it is. It's QW, and there's another one based on top of it. So let's rebase both of these. So JJ rebase the base of NQN onto main at origin. Done. Like easy. That's what I love about jujitsu. Doing that in Git would have been such a pain. So now let's make a change to QW. Now, what is QW? Sorry, JJ show QW. That's what I want. What it did was we moved the responsibility of... Right. We moved the responsibility of creating the object URL to the parent, and that was it. I think the only thing I wanted to do to clean it up, actually, if I recall, we also have to run the tests and make sure those pass, is there was this line. Oh, I have to actually make changes to it. Yeah, I'm in the right one. Okay. What I wanted to do was update the function here in base where we're using the uploaded wallpaper, because like I'm aliasing the URL, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say uploaded wallpaper. There is a way for me to reassign, and I think it's like this. Am I right on that? Will that work? No, it's the other way around. And uploaded wallpaper URL. That should do it. That's what I wanted to do there. And was there any other usage of uploaded wallpaper? I don't think so. Let's build with an artifact build. Make sure this still works as we'd expect. We'll run the tests, manually test it, and then let's get it up for review. Let's just get this thing out there. How's everyone doing out in the wild? Someone put a bot reaction on my... Danny Colin put a robot face on my bridge test please ignore message. Thank you, Danny Colin. I asked a question last week, which was like, where is everybody and how far away are you? Let's see if we can let's do another one. What, generally speaking, what are people's occupations in the chat? Are you a programmer? Are you a designer? Are you just a programming enthusiast that does something else? Maybe you're in between jobs. Are you looking for a job? Like what's everyone doing for a living in the chat right now? Maybe you're retired. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a security researcher. What's out there? And like, you don't have to, but I'm just curious. I thought I'd get a sense of who my audience is today. Feel free. Are you part of the developer community of Firefox? Desktop or mobile or any other projects? Are you part of the support community, localization community? Give us a sense of who you are, if you want. Maybe you stumbled on this channel on Twitch and you're just like, what's going on? That's cool too. Let me know kind of give me a sense of who you are and just drop it in the chat. Okay, so let us run this build. And I may have clobbered the build and I have to like set it up to use the animated background again. Here it is. So custom wallpaper works. And now the question is, how much memory are we consuming? So let's open up a bunch of these. And about memory. We'll go ahead and minimize and measure. Total resident memory approximate is pretty good, actually. Yeah, we're in good shape here. It was a lot more last time. Okay, here we go. Privileged about is using 1.2 gigs. That's comparable to what we were doing last time, although this is approximate resident memory. So that's the thing about memory. Explicit allocations, one thing you have to remember when you look at about memory and when you look at memory reports in general, there's a difference between reserving memory and actually using the memory. And I believe, and I'm not a memory expert here, what we are seeing here are allocations, like reserved memory. Like the privileged about process has reserved this much memory. And this is how much is actually being used, about 721 megs. That is, I believe, the case. There's an attempt here to measure what's actually being used. And let's see if that scales up or down as I add more of these tabs that are... Let's open up a whole bunch. And let's go back to our about memory. Where's memory? We'll go ahead and minimize and measure. Yeah, it's about the same, so that's good. I'm pretty pleased with the performance here. So let's go ahead and get this posted up for review. First of all, let's run our tests. Oh, one thing I didn't do, I have to npm run bundle prefix browser extensions new tab, because what I just didn't actually get tested, because there's like this bundling step that we have to do. Okay, so it is working now. That reassignment works properly. Okay. Amazing. And about memory. Oh, and I just got tea delivery. Pew, pew, pew. Actually, I can play that sound. Thank you very much for the tea delivery. Air horn.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Okay, minimize and... All right, we're getting some responses. Smurfy says that they're tech support consulting, doing things during day, hobby programming at night. Been a few years since my last patch to Firefox. Craig is a software developer. Hey, fantastic. You don't have to tell me who you are. This is not obligatory, but I'm curious. So the memory has gone down even more. I bet it is because most of these tabs aren't actually restored. So let me restore these things. Let's go through them all. Okay, and then memory. Minimize memory. So now I've got this classic problem. I've got a Coke Zero and a tea going. Notably, the main process has gone up in memory quite a bit. Let's minimize again and measure again. Yeah, and now it's gone way down. It's gone way down. So this is good. This is good. Let's go ahead and now run our tests. Mock npm run test mc unit prefix browser. This is how we run our unit tests for new tab. New tab's kind of special. New tab is this weird webpacky thing. Okay, good. Let's run our other tests for new tab. These ones are a little more, not unit, XBC shell. These ones are a little more traditional, these tests. Okay. Let's run test browser, the browser monkey tests. Actually, let's do that headless so that we don't have to have our screen taken over. I am curious, actually. One of the things that I expected to break were the tests for the wallpaper feed. Test construction, test on action init. Where's custom wallpapers? Wallpaper upload. On action, we get called wallpaper upload. We write to the directory. Okay, so it's not actually testing to see whether or not what's coming down is a pre-existing blob URI, but we probably can do that. We can probably write a test for that. Maybe that's what we'll do now to sort of finish the job, is we'll make sure that what comes down from the parent is a blob URI. And that would be a good way of sort of squaring off this patch, and then we can post it for review. Now, what does a blob URI look like? I might have to wait until these tests are done running, and then we can like quickly inspect it. What we will, okay. So what we will expect here is a URI of the form, and not like we'll expect to have been sent a blob URI. Not that the background was always a blob URI, but we expect to have been sent this, as opposed to being sent just a full-blown DOM file thing. So let's add a task. Add task test wallpaper URI, blob URI. Tests that the parent process sends down a blob URI to new tab to render. Sends down a consistent blob URI to render as the background. Okay. So how do we do this? Get wallpaper feed for test, and then there's like this fakeness that we do. So we really just want to like fake out our file. Do we have a test wallpaper file? Not really. But that's okay. We don't have to test that the image actually is valid. We just need to create a test file. Test upload contents. Yeah, okay. And then we create the test file, the wallpaper upload, the written file, and then what are we changing? We change it so that the data that is sent down is a URL. So test. Feed on action. And what? Feed on action. Broadcast to content. What I want to see is an example of on action wallpaper, and then it dispatched. We presume it was okay. So this is what we'll do: is we'll just make sure that the feed dispatch was called with a particular thing. Okay, data uploaded wallpaper. That's weird. I would have expected this to break. That we should be able to like url.create object URL uploaded wallpaper. It has to be one of those things. So like when we run this test startup cache init, how is this passing? Dump dispatching data and then the URL. I'm curious what that will say. What was my string? Dispatching data. Never actually gets dumped. Huh. This is on wallpaper upload, which should be called wallpaper upload. Oh, not on wallpaper custom set. When is wallpaper custom set? Sent. Broadcast. This is on startup. Still, I would expect custom set to be null, object URL. So how about here? Don't. Here, hello? Let's also build just in case. Also, instead of running the whole suite of tests, let's just run the last one that startup cache init. We'll only run this one. Okay. On action should forward wallpaper info. What the heck? So what's actually happening here? So we get, oh, I see. This isn't testing the wallpaper feed. It's testing something called the startup cache init feed, or init.sys.mjs wallpaper. Get state. This grabs the current main reducer state for wallpapers uploaded and sends it to the startup cache content reducer. So wallpapers, uploaded wallpaper. So that is a thing we actually have to change. Uploaded wallpaper. What is wallpapers? This store get state wallpapers, uploaded wallpaper. Reducers. I see. So that actually becomes the URL. Oh. Uploaded wallpaper becomes the data. Oh, so that should just work then. Okay, that works nicely. So that's why that works. Wallpaper. Custom wallpaper update reply, true. Okay. So that should just pass through. So that's why that passes. It's intentional. So we can revert the changes to this test. And really, we just want to test that a blob URI comes down here. Okay. So let's copy the guts of some of this. We don't have to actually test the uploading part. We're going to write this into the profile directory under wallpapers. Wallpaper upload. Yeah. We don't care about them being the same. Don't care about the UUID. What we'll do here is then check to see. Let me get rid of our dumps in here. that on calling wallpaper upload, we want to spy on the store to ensure that that wallpaper feed is generating a blob URI, generating an object URI for the object URL for the file, uploaded file. So sandbox.spy will spy on the feed.store. We're going to spy on dispatch. And then assert okay feed.store.dispatch dot first call. Oh, sorry, called with. And then AC in this case is action creators called with. Called with action creators broadcast content and we expect it to be called with wallpaper custom set data should be that's interesting. How do we just want to make sure that we won't know what the the object URL is deterministically. That's created randomly at runtime. Let's see what happens if we run this. I expect this to fail. Let's only run this one. Mock test wallpaper feed. I expect this to fail. Attempted wrap dispatch, which is already being spied on. Did we not clean up? We didn't. We didn't. Sandbox.restore. And prepared feed. Sorry, we're already spying on dispatch here, so we don't need to spy on it again. False equals true. So yeah, what was it called with? So let's add our debugger here and we can examine it. JS debugger. We'll open up debugging. Wait for that to launch. Okay, connect. Okay. So now we can call feed.store dispatch.calls or get call 0 and the args. There we go. And then there's going to be a meta thing. So type wallpaper custom set call. So what I want to do here is write some kind of matcher. Because like I do want this to, like, what does broadcast content do again? Action creators, actions. I think that just, it routes it, and routing decorates the action by adding meta to it. So it doesn't actually change it. So what I can do is I can say that the data will be, and then I supply a sign-in matcher for a blob URL, because that will, and that will be a string that looks like that. Okay. So something like blob null. So sign on string matchers. Sign on match. String regular expression function. Requires that to be a string. Deep equals starts with. Returns an array, starts with, contains, mapped, equals. Regular expression might be the easiest. Okay. Oh, have the expectation as a substring. Okay, maybe that's best. So sign on dot match, and then I supply blob null. What'll it think of that? Spy v spy, that's right. Hey, that works. Okay, cool. Now ensure that a consistent URL object URL gets returned for each subsequent request for a wallpaper. So we need to get at that let object const object URL object URL wallpaper URL equals feed.store.dispatch.get call 0 args 0 dot data. We pull this URL is non-deterministic, but we can pull it out from what was just passed to the dispatch, the store dispatch function method. Okay. Let's make sure that we got it. URL. Yeah, got it. Okay. And then remove custom wallpaper, broadcast content on update wallpapers. We're going to call it update wallpapers. And that is async. Await feed dot, we're going to go feed.store.dispatch.reset. Await feed.update wallpapers. Now pretend that we're opening a new tab which is requesting the wallpaper state. And then assert that. Building some Firefox extension? Nope. Testing some wallpaper stuff in Nightly. Feeds dispatch reset is not a function. Oh, dip. Reset history? Is that what it is? Wallpaper client can't access. Get the wallpaper client is null. 140. Wallpaper client. Oh boy. Oh boy. We need to fake out a wallpaper client. Wallpaper setup. Wallpaper setup. Wait, feed dot. Feed dot. Will that work? Wallpaper client is still null. And found an unexpected file. Right. The written file. Because we fail out of an exception here. 140. Test 235 here on update wallpapers. Somehow wallpaper setup Who calls wallpaper setup on a net? Wallpapers. Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll mock out instead. We'll say stub out a fake remote client so that update wallpapers won't complain when we eventually call it. Feed dot wallpaper client equals, and then we're gonna say it's an object that returns a promise that is nothing. Wallpaper client equals get return nothing. How do you feel about that? Okay, so 244 is now called with, it's different. It's different. So what are you called with? Dump args feed.store.dispatch.getCall0 args JSON to stringify args. Why are you mad? Expected string concatenation, don't worry about it. Args type wallpaper custom set data is null. Why would you be null? Let us step through it. Debugger. Let's see what we're missing. What information are we missing? Okay, update wallpapers. What's going to happen? The UUID exists. Selected wallpaper is empty. If... Oh. So this is wrong. I have a bug in my code. Because update wallpapers is called every time. We don't want to do that. We have a bug in our code. Because update wallpapers is actually called when we set up. And when else is it called? Update wallpapers on startup. Oh, only on startup. It's only called, oh, so maybe it's fine. So then what's called whenever a site wants to hear about the wallpaper being available? Oh, I see. Wallpaper setup is then called anytime. So my test is wrong. So what we really need to check to see is whether or not the state, the wallpaper state, state, feed, store, state. What is the value? Dump state, feed store state, JSON stringify wallpapers. I think is that the reducers? Actions, reducers. Wallpaper, wallpapers, wallpapers. So wallpapers. No, don't run with JS Debugger. Just run it normal. Run it normal kind. Can't access it. Feed store state is undefined. Oh. What happens if I look at it now? State is undefined. Feed store state. What if I just look at the state object? Just the empty object. So the state's not being updated because dispatch think it's not easy to test what I want to test here. Wallpapers custom set updates the data to be that. And then really what I want to test is whether or not the reducers are doing the right thing. Reducers.sys.mjs. Do we ever test that? We do. Reducers. Combine reducers. If I supply wallpaper action. Visual wallpapers. Function wallpapers. Const reducers. Let's see what happens if I try and bring this in. Reducers. Tab lib common reducers.sys.mjs. The wallpapers. Null, and then the action. We're going to supply it. Const action equals feed store dispatch get call 0 args 0 wallpaper URL equals action.data. We're going to pass action, and we are going to expect a state object. Const state assert equal state dot uploaded wallpaper to be wallpaper URL. Should have updated the state to include the blob URL, the object URL. Let's see what it thinks about that. Amazing. Okay, I'm happy with that. Test-wise. Oh, use array destructuring. Okay. Fine. This URL return for each subsequent request for a wallpaper by checking to see that it's it exists in the state object. Okay. I'm gonna update this to be called object URI. Consistent object URI, object URL. And then I don't know, I don't think we need that anymore. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's take a look. GA squash. JJ edit or describe wallpaper fix. We're gonna get rid of the WIP. Use parent project. Use a parent process object URL instead of a per document object URL for new tab backgrounds. Amy. We'll have Amy review that. Pretty sure that's Amy, yeah. Okay. Make sure that I don't have to mock npm run bundle prefix browser extensions new tab. I don't think I'll have to recreate anything. If nothing. All right. Now check it out. I can go mozfab submit single QW no whip. Submitting. I don't have to do any Git manipulation. Requesting review. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have done mock lint outgoing fix. Good. There was nothing to fix. So then our patch is now up for review here. Test. Oh, I've got the spurious comment in here we can get rid of. And we'll go ahead. This is lovely. I can just go JJ squash. And then mozfab submit again. Get rid of I don't need no whip anymore. Meaningless comment in the patch. Jiu-Jitsu's the greatest. I'm saying it today. I'm saying it now. And that got rid of that weird thing. Okay. So that's done. Posted for review. Now this is assigned to me. Done. What do we want to do now? Okay, so that's done. Let's review some patches. There's a bunch of patches in my queue. Let's take a look at some of them. Okay, so what's this all about? I have sorry, I'm just getting lit up by messages. There is this redesign. So this is what we're looking at here is like a local site of a prototype for a redesign of the settings page in Firefox. Believe it or not, the settings page is where a lot of people go. You know, that's one of the first places they go is to configure Firefox to sort of make it function the way they want it to function. And the settings page in Firefox has not changed much since, I don't know, 2017, the Photon release. And we want to improve it. It's kind of gotten very cluttered over time. This happens every few years where it's like, okay, this has become a dumping ground for various settings, and we need to kind of like reorganize it and rethink it. And so there's this like prototype that you may have seen before that is being worked on slowly but surely. And one of the things that we're trying to do in part of this is to make sure that we're using our reusable components and to make it so that it's really easy for people to add things to settings in a way that is like consistent with the UI. And so traditionally, the way that's done these days, like the way you add stuff to the settings is there's like main.xhtml, or is it main.inc.xhtml? Like there's preferences is an HTML document that's got like you just hand roll all the markup. You hand roll all the markup and you hope you get your classes right. And it's a real pain in the butt. And, you end up with like somewhat inconsistent stuff sometimes. Like sometimes, let's see, what's inconsistent? What's some inconsistencies? Sometimes you've got checkboxes. You've got like things like this versus this. You've got drop downs that are, I'm looking for more consistent. Like the spacing is a little inconsistent. You got lists that look like this, but also lists that look like this. And, yeah, it's all just kind of a big old mess. So one of the things that the preferences team or the reusable components team has been working on is making it so that it is much easier for JavaScript. We can describe declaratively what the preferences are, and not describe the UI so much as the behavior of how we expect the preference to behave, and how we expect it to be, like what components it should use. But then there's sort of this intermediary layer which will then ultimately render the page. So that the goal being that if a Firefox developer in the future wants to add a checkbox here, they don't actually have to add a checkbox element and know to use Moz checkbox and whatnot. They just add it to a list and it will just automatically do the right thing. And so this is all part of that project, and it's going to involve a rejig of a lot of like reusable components. And the reason I brought up this section is because I think this section is actually using the declarative model already. We're starting kind of like piecemeal. It's using something called settings control or setting control. And there's a setting group ID browsing. So we can take a look actually at the a setting group and what that is. This is a setting group, and what happens is you can supply a function to it, which is going to return a description of what should be rendered inside of it, with some like in a very structured format, like on whether it should be visible, what the config should be. So let's look at an example. Setting group. Do we ever? No, we probably go like new setting group. Do we do that? Huh. Just trying to remember how this. Here we go. We'll look at the patch. I remember this because I helped review it. What happens here? Inside of the script, we add these settings. These are the structures of the things. And then there's all this config for like the ID and then the localization stuff. And then what we do is we get access to the setting group, and then we set the config to be the settings config for browsing. And we say, so I guess we declaratively put the settings group into the, we just declaratively put the setting group in. We don't create it with script. That's great. And then in script, you just sort of like say, okay, initialize it based on this structure. And there's this kind of like nested thing where there's like a setting group, and the setting group itself uses a thing called a setting, or can contain different settings these days. Where is it? A Moz field set. A setting control, that's what it is. We'll go inside of a Moz field set. So setting control is a lit directive that applies all properties of an object to a DOM element. Like, this is really cool stuff. Setting control is a Moz lit element that can be a checkbox, unless it's some other, like it can be defined inside of the structure on whether or not it wants to be a checkbox or something else. Like if we go back to that patch, what was it? Control. Was there like a control? I think these are all just checkboxes, so they all default to Moz checkbox. Yeah, I think they all default to Moz checkbox, which is fine for now, but they're going to be adding more soon. And this patch that I'm hoping to review is all part of this. So basic dialog button for opening settings dialogues. So let's take a look at where two things have already landed. This one, support headings for Moz field set legend and design tokens for heading font size and weight. So those landed yesterday? Those landed yesterday. Design tokens landed yesterday. And now let's take a look at what's next in the queue. That is basic dialog button. And that's for this bug. Let's read the bug. Add support for a modal button to config-based settings. Enhance the config-based setting system with support for buttons that open dialogues for complex input, for example, font selection. The font section currently uses a modal for font preview and selection, making it an ideal first adopter of this feature. Many of the modals are simple and just require the path to the modal source file as an argument or some simple features options for gsub dialog. Ideally, we can manage these directly from the config without any JS. So, this is the browser languages example, so this is the way you could kind of describe it. Simple options to gsub dialog should also be supported. Camera permissions example. Control config. Okay. Advanced configuration with close and callback, and dynamic parameters will likely be through a settings get control config hook and be done in a follow-up task. Wow. This team is doing such a good job of architecting this and thinking this through. That's kind of what Mark and the Recomp team are really good at this. They've been doing it for years. That's the band name. Mark and the Recomp team. Okay, so what is the idea? Let's take a look at the comments here. This component feels a little overkill, but it keeps the logic out of setting control, so it may be somewhat reasonable. Here are the config for the contrast control section as an example. So you say, hey, you're a Moz Radio group, and the control is Moz Radio. The option control is the Moz Radio, and then this is the string for the group, and then these are the options for it. And these are the values and the strings, and then value 2 is this. And then within that, there are items that are like, hey, do you want to manage colors? Here's the string. It's a control. It's a dialog button, which opens up a dialog. Okay. Using this component requires it to be included in browser usage telemetry to record telemetry, which I don't love. Creating a Moz button inside of the dialog button rather than inheriting seems reasonable, but it still didn't record telemetry. I suspect because Moz button didn't have an ID or fluent string, but I didn't look too closely. Another option may be so there's to flag something in the config, like control Moz button dialog true, and in that case attach a click handler from setting control. That's interesting. That is something we could potentially look at. So he's got a couple things here. He's bringing in a dialog button widget that he's defining. No CSS, but here's the MJS. A dialog button extends Moz button. And on click, we get our dialog and our features attribute. And args equals features. If features, then bring it in. Otherwise, it's undefined. And then open up the dialog path. Okay. And then it's like, hey, gsubdialog is not defined. So I wonder if that should be window.gsubdialog or, global.gsubdialog. I do think that is going to, it's going to make storybook testing a little annoying. Does he attempt to... No, he doesn't attempt to implement it here. Okay, so he adds. Let's pull this down and take a look. He doesn't actually like use it anywhere. The dialogue button, which is a pain. We might need to actually bring down a couple of these patches. Disable Moz button if its parent is disabled. This is not a thing I need to review, but if disabled or parent disabled. Parent disabled is a boolean that is exposed, that is written to it, and then convert zoom settings section to config base prefs. So this might be a logical unit where group ID zoom, basic add, basic memo is helpful for get control config functions. Call a pass function once initial setup its return value will be merged with the original config and returned directly on subsequent calls. Get control config function inner add once inner result, let result, if not result, compute it, otherwise return result. Isn't add once. How's that used? Get control config is add once. Isn't this like define lazy getter? Define lazy getter. Isn't this just a re-implementation of define lazy getter? I guess define lazy getter accepts the thing that you're calling it on as the first argument. There's also xpcomutils.define lazy. The given object is also returned, which enables type-friendly composition. Okay, well, let's keep reading. My first thought, though, is that I'm not entirely certain. Oh, its result is merged with the original config. So it takes a config and you get the control return a function, and it gets a config back. It is passed a okay. A function that returns oh boy. Okay, it returns this object. And you take that. Oh man, my brain. So then it's returning, add once returns a function. That's what get control fig is going to be called with. And get control fig will take a function, it will take a config and merge it with whatever has been okay. So this is not exactly, I get it. That is a little complicated, but okay. helper object. Zoom helpers goes new class. Oh, this is interesting. It's like a scoped class, so you can't, like, you don't have access to Zoom helpers. That's interesting how this is done. Zoom helpers. It's a singleton. This is how you do a singleton. Maybe. When equals 1 over Docker window. Okay. And then here's the settings. Okay, that seems nice. Where are we using this, like, parent disabled thing? Why? That was added. So, like, these two things, what are they blocking? These are like bits and pieces that don't appear to block convert fonts to config-based prefs. Is that a later fonts? Where are the fonts? Blocks this. So there's no actual patch. Okay. So it's all foundational. Okay, that's what I'm getting from all of this. That these two first patches are foundational. I think this is about as far as I'm going to be able to review today in the stream as these two. I might review the rest of these outside of the stream, but I'm getting a sense now of what's going on here. Using this component requires we include browser usage telemetry. I'd love a way of testing this. Because let's launch an instance of the browser. So we use browser usage telemetry. Oh, that's gonna give me a headache. We use browser usage telemetry to, like, know how many people are, like, I don't know. Oh wow, I'm logging all this stuff. About logging. Stop. Don't log. Stop logging. Why are you logging? Socket. Logging preset. I might have, you know what? I probably set some kind of environment variable. Services.env.get mozlog. No, I didn't. NSPR log? Why are you logging? Echo mozlog. Yeah, why are you logging? There. It's gone now. Anyway, what did I want to look at? So browser usage. Oh, you know what? It's because of the toolbox. This thing's profile is logging. I have to manipulate that one. I'm gonna have to figure that out another time. That's a pain. But okay. Parent process. So I just want to browser usage telemetry record. So this is how we know, for example, that, like, users are not a particular user, but that in general users are changing their font settings or something. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we should investigate why they need to do that. Command. Where's the function that actually does the thing? Observe. Handle event. Click. record command. That's what it is, record command. So if I like click on settings, that comes in. So the question is, if I were to remove one of these buttons and replace it with a Moz dialog button, how does that work? What happens? So let's bring these two patches in. JJ new main add origin. Moz fab patch. Apply to here. Skip dependencies. Whoop. Dependencies. Just bringing these two in. So we'll do this one and then this one. Apply to here. Okay. Build faster. And then let's say we replaced the one of the buttons with a dialog button. So let's replace this button with a dialog button. Okay, so that's okay. That an exception was thrown. I don't mind. Did I hit a debug? How come we're stuck now? Font. So I have to do that again. Okay. And now I'm going to set a breakpoint in browser usage telemetry under record command here. So we do see it. Last click target is that. Source event target is the browser, we ignore it. Is about preferences, which is now true. Well, UI and node classes and not is about preferences, and we get the parent node. So node.localName, UI target elements. These are the sorts of things that we listen for. And we'll go up, and then we're gonna hit the top. And then we return. Okay, I know why. So yeah, the UI target elements needs to include our new button here. Browser usage telemetry. Whoops. Browser usage telemetry.sys.mjs. So what? Dialog button. How we doing? How we doing for time? It's 2:23. We've already written a patch, and I think we've solved this mystery about the telemetry thing. So that's a pretty good chunk of work today for our hour and a half together. So let us now turn that into a dialog button. Okay, and then here we go. We'll set our breakpoint here. Okay. Found it. composed when the expected target is a custom element with a shadow root. There may be a specific part of the component that click events correspond to changes. Ignore any other events if requested. So expected event target is undefined. If the source type is command, then we'll do those things. Otherwise, we'll get the item, the widget ID. So the item is advanced fonts. The source, we'll get the widget container. The source is preference pane general. And then we'll record widget ID extra. There, advanced fonts. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. So now we have an answer for Mark. Requires to be, it requires to be included to record telemetry, which I don't love. Creating a Moz button seems reasonable to still. So I'm gonna say like, hey, you know what? Well, hang on before I accept it, because I should actually read the patch more. But I agree, it's not amazing for browser usage telemetry to know the details of details of the widget tree inside of about preferences. However, browser usage telemetry already knows a lot of details about the browser UI, and it's it already has constants for IDs for various bibs and bobs in the UI, various command IDs, etc. It already has special cases for about preferences. I don't think we're making things meaningfully worse by making browser usage telemetry also aware that dialog button exists. I personally don't think we're making things, and that might be preferable over doing some wild things like nested buttons, which doing some alternatives like nested buttons, which I worry may have weird side effects. Alternatively, we could have browser usage telemetry, since our dialog button inherits from Moz button. We could have browser usage telemetry say, is this thing a Moz button, or does it inherit from a Moz button? So that it doesn't need to know the specifics of the actual name of dialog button. Because I'm pretty sure let's see here. If we go to settings, say? Is Moz button in here? Okay, so is Moz button is instance false. Can you see whether or not the constructor is the same? No, because they aren't. So how do you see if a thing, do you say like instance of Moz button false? How do you check inheritance in JavaScript? JavaScript ES6 classes check if inherits. Prototype instance of. Oh, that's dialog button dot prototype. Is that what it's called? Dialog button? Dialog button. It doesn't export it. Just defines it. So custom element get dialog button. Okay. Instance of Moz button. No. But the prototype. Also not an instance of Moz button. Constructor prototype. What is class A? Class B extends A. B dot prototype. Instance of A. True. B instance of A. False. So custom elements get dialog button is a class. Moz button also a class. However, prototype instance of Moz button not true. But I wonder if that's because of the different execution scopes. Is instance, do you have that? Yeah, is instance Moz button. What about the other way around? Custom. Wait. So you're telling me that dialog button is not an instance? What is instance? Ooh, is that special powers? It's not on WebIDL. It is on WebIDL. No, it is not. It's not XPCOM. Module object. This instance. Spider monkey. What is instance? Binding utils. Is instance. Introduced by Peter. Solving DOM properties in 2014. constructor true. So that's the class prototype. Constructor is dialog button. Parent, there's no way of getting the super. How do you get the parent class? Parent proto, get object, get prototype of. You work your way up the constructor chain. So b.prototype equals a? No. b.prototype is prototype of a. A is prototype of b. A is a prototype of b. So are you constructor is prototype of Moz button? No. Dialog button, prototype. Prototype. Nothing. Prototype is just an object. Proto. Moz button dot prototype. Proto. What am I doing? Okay, well, maybe I'll just finish my thought. I don't know how easy it would be to detect whether or not it's a subclass. You'd think it'd be pretty easy. Okay, I'll just add my thought there. So in terms of the actual UI here, this seems fine. On first updated, lit, first updated. Private fields from DOM attributes. It's been updated for the first time immediately before update is called. Okay. So should this be window.gsub dialog? To avoid linting issues, what's the current best practice for calling into globals from widgets like this when we want them to also display in Storybook? Because yeah, you could just like define gsub dialog. So for example, we can go dialog button .mjs, we'll say window gsub dialog open, and then stories we'll say window gsub dialog equals function, I'll say path or dialog and args. Args alert opened dialog at dialog with args JSON stringify args. So then we could do mock storybook. Settings, dialog button. Window G sub dialog dot open needs to be defined. Equals open. Here you go. And then we can say, okay, label args path dialog foo args bar features test. Does that work? No. What do you expect? Dialog and features, they're both strings. Dialog features. Oh. Dialog test features, test features, like something like that. No. Maybe it's just like this. Yeah, there we go. That's all I needed. Well, that's one way of doing it. Like, I suppose we could stub out window.g stub out this, something like this in the story. Generally, this seems okay to me. Good to me, thanks. I had some thoughts about the browser usage telemetry stuff. See above, and how we can avoid the linting error in here. See below, but generally this looks good. Thank you. Approve. Though, hang on, dialog button.css, is this actually used? Wait, I just realized. This isn't used. Do we still need it? Submit. Okay. I think I'm going to stop there. I'm over time. We're going to call it. Hey, thank you for watching episode 409 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought. There's a link to rate this episode here in the agenda. I'll drop it in the chat as well. Link to rate this episode. It's going in the chat. Bingo bango. Send in your thoughts if there's something you enjoyed seeing, you want to see more of, you want to see less of, you want to ask me a question, you can send it in using that form. I read everything that comes in, and I can try and answer your question next time. Next week we should be good to stream. The week after that, the week after next, I'm taking a much needed holiday. So streaming next week, and then 1 week off. But I should be able to see you next week. So have yourselves a great week, everybody. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.